Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome. Random thoughts are always great. So we're back. Ethos of Silence. Tim here, Marine Corps, 10 years. Pardon Echo, she's getting excited. And I got my buddy Derrick here with me.
Yep, Derrick Dupre, 6 years Marine Corps.
Yeah. So what you want to talk about today, Derrick?
I don't know. It's been a weird week.
Willie.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of brings up the big green weenie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I had to explain that to somebody one time, civilian. They were like, what is the big green weenie?
Well, I mean, that might be a good thing to get into is a bunch of our terminology.
Yeah.
For people to understand the terminology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I had to explain to them what the big green weenie was, and they were like...
You mean the Oscar Mayer wiener truck? Is that what it is?
Literally, that's what they thought. I was like, nope, not even close. I said, come back in about 10 minutes and I'll explain it to you. I said, because I got to figure out a way to dumb this down for you. And I said, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, I got to break it down in terms you'll understand.
I got hungry and ran out of crayons. Let me go get some crayons and I can explain it to you.
Exactly. I don't even remember how I explained it to them, but after I was done, they were like, what?
Yeah.
And you did that willingly? Yeah, because the recruiter lied to me. Well, they suckered me in, just like they do everybody else.
Yeah. Well, they sucker you in, and they're good at suckering you in, and you're having a conversation with them, and you don't even realize that they're going to take you the way they want to take you.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm glad they did, you know? I mean, if the recruiter wouldn't have suckered me in, well, if the Army recruiter wouldn't have been late, is what it turned out to be. Because, I mean, I had myself sold.
See, what was funny is I was at MCT at Camp Geiger, and I'd called home, check in, let them know, hey, everything's good, whatnot. We're about to get started, about to go out in the field for a few weeks. I'll let y'all know when we get back, type thing. And Mom said, hang on a second, somebody's bringing in. So I'm like, all right. She comes back on the line, laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? She goes, that was the Army recruiter looking for you. I was like, okay. She goes, I told him you're already in the Marine Corps. And she said, all she heard was a click. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's a good way to get them to never call back, right?
Yep. Never had a problem. Never had another one ever call again.
Well, I guess we just revealed the secret.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought to pitch them that lie of, I'm already enlisted in something else. Oh, okay. Well, have a great career. See you later.
Mm-hmm. And actually, for a little while, I would still get different literature from the different branches. So I'm like,
yeah. The government wasting money.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that.
I mean, now, there are some times I don't mind the government squandering money. Kind of like when I see jets flying overhead, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Or that when they did the flyover for the first responders.
That's pretty cool.
And I was treated double because the B-52s with the F-15 escorts flew over where I worked at. Then they looped around and we got a second pass.
Yeah.
And everybody was like looking at me because I was the only military vet. And they said, what the hell was that? I'm like, that's the plane you don't want coming after you.
Right.
I said, it'll level an entire city.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the B-52. And I said, if you want to know what that plane's capable of, just Google B-52 payload pictures.
Well, the only reason that it's capable of doing all that stuff in the current century is because of the same equipment that I worked on in the Marine Corps. So the Marine Corps piggybacked off the Air Force. The Air Force Reserves fly the B-52s, right? Mm-hmm. So the Marine Corps not having any money, we piggybacked off them for our Lightning Pod program. And the Lightning Pod is just a targeting pod that helps the fact of my aircraft that came out in the 80s, and the B-52 came out in probably the 70s. You know what I mean? It's been around a minute. Because it's just how much weapons can we put on something? All right, let's put a big enough engine so we get to where we need to go and drop them all. And, oh, shit, let's buff up the frame a little bit so we can use it more than once. And here we go.
Yeah, and the B-52 is actually about to get an engine upgrade.
Yeah.
They tested them, I think in Mississippi or somewhere.
See, and that's what I wish they'd have done with the Harrier. I wish they'd have just rolled some brand new ones off the line. You know what I mean? Because you had so many mods and so many different things going with them. But I think the JSF will be a good upgrade. I mean, especially because the Marine Corps made their own smaller version of it.
Which one was the JSF? Was that the 35?
That's F-35. Yeah.
Okay,
I knew there was fighter.
I knew there was one. It was called the JSF, but I couldn't remember what its nomenclature was once it hit the fleet.
Yeah, that's the one that put me out of business.
Yeah, I see a lot of similarities in them. They seems like they both do somewhat of the same job, just different.
So the Marine Corps got a smaller version of it so it could do the job that the Harrier was doing. Mm. And the other branches got larger versions of it. But, I mean, it's just an upgrade all the way across the board. You're talking about upgrading something that was built in the 80s to now rolling off the line and having that type of technology and that type of capability along with all the new stealth technology and everything else jammed into one. So, I mean...
So it's kind of basically like a modernized stealth version of the Harrier?
It's like... In a way? It's like taking your... It's like taking your old truck and go and get a brand new one that's got Bluetooth and navigation and screens and everything else, and it's got all the fancy toys that you were buying and plugging shit into the cigarette lighter to make work.
Yep.
That comes straight from the factory without having, you do all the upgrades yourself.
Yeah. I grew up that way, doing all those fancy upgrades and stuff to my trucks over the years. And now I ain't got to do anything.
Right.
I just click a setting in my phone and bam, there it is.
Isn't that ridiculously crazy? It's awesome. I love technology. Oh, and yeah. I hate technology all at the same time because I know where that photo is. I just can't find a damn thing.
Yep. Because my wife posted something earlier today on social media and I said I was looking for this certain picture, but I couldn't find it. So I said, because, over 25,000 pictures capable, and I'm not even scratching the surface on the memory capabilities of this thing.
Right. I know what meme I want to throw at you. I just can't find a damn thing.
Exactly.
Somebody needs to make an app so you can search your memes.
Yep. Yeah,
I'd pay $1 a month for a meme organizer.
I would too. I've got a meme maker as well. If I can't find it, I'll screw it. As long as I can find the right picture, I'll just make it.
Exactly.
But now, biggest thing that I noticed when explaining military stuff to people is I'll subconsciously start talking and people look at me and go, stop speaking Marine Corps. We don't understand those terms. And I'll catch myself using acronyms all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, crap.
But it's the only efficient way to tell the story. And it's something that when we're all sitting around here, we need to get better at okay, well, let me go into detail real quick of what a little bird was so we understand what he's saying. It's not a little Tweety bird come and tell me secrets. No. It's somebody who can't do their job and they're worthless. So, they're a shit bird. So we call them a little bird and you just keep on rolling,
Like, who was it? It was one of the last episodes. I don't remember if it was, I was talking to Kevin and I told him don't be a blue falcon. I usually have to explain that one.
I feel like that one should be self-explainable without having to go into details. Yeah. It really should. Like, I was using that term in high school without having any, military relation to it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But, some people have more exposure than others.
Yeah. I just, usually after I'm done telling a story, I'll have to rewind and go back and explain all the different acronyms. I'm like, when you're in the military, and I said it's not just the Marine Corps, it's all branches. Their acronyms are everywhere. Everything you do, there's an acronym for it.
Yeah, and if they can't come up with an acronym, they come up with a nickname that has nothing to do with the name of it, and it goes by the nickname instead of the acronym.
Yep, and then everybody's standing around like, the hell is this dude talking about?
Yep.
Until they get pissed off, start hollering and screaming at everybody, like, and now everybody's like, screw it, we're just gonna sit here.
But it's weird how that's effective means of communication. You know what I mean? Like despite all the chaos, there's a beauty to the chaos to where the communication is clear and you understand what's going on and what's expected of you.
Yep. Like it, in the military, though, I said you can have an entire conversation using nothing but acronyms.
Yeah, you can.
It's weird. And I said, it does get tiring having to remember every single one of them, including the ones they make up on the fly at times. But I'm like, that after a few months in, you know, it's all second nature.
So did y'all call snacks pokey bait?
Yes.
Okay.
To a point.
Okay.
No, that reminds me of one incident. It was during workups for the second deployment. Motor T, well, we were professional skaters.
Yeah.
I had the golden skates. We could get out of the bullshit left and right if we wanted to. We went to fill up the water bowls.
Okay.
Because they were empty.
Yeah.
So the Motor T chief, being the kick-ass dude he was, we're like, we're not exactly going direct to fill them up. So, and for the record, I mean, I'm sure that, see, like you were just talking about explaining things. The water bowl is the giant tank trailer that's usually pulled behind one of the big trucks. I think it's 400 or 500 gallons.
Yeah.
It's a big water trailer. It's got some spouts up front, and you got to go take it to the corpsman for the first initial fill up. They drop the purification tablets in it,
yeah,
and they write poison on it. You got to let it sit for a certain amount of time. Then you got to drain it, and then go fill it back up. Then you can start drinking from it. Well, Motor T chief decides to go. He's like, we're going back to the rear. We're going to the barracks. We're like, so we pull up. We all pull up in the parking lot in the barracks, and he was like, y'all got an hour. Okay. And he goes, I know y'all going to the PX. Just don't get a whole lot because you're not bringing it with you. We can't do that. And then somebody's like, well, what if we want to take a shower? He goes, that's fine. Wash from the neck down. Don't wash from the neck up. We can't let them know where we were.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I took that as an opportunity. When I was done showering, I opened up my my fridge, where I may or may not have had a bottle of adult beverage that I found out the hard way I was unauthorized to have.
Uh-oh.
Oops. Apparently, I wasn't high enough ranking to have stuff like that. Whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy. But
we got showers. Then we went and filled the trailers up. Now it's dark now. So we've been gone a few hours. Everybody else is sweating their asses off in the field. And we actually get to the location to where you fill the water bowls up. And we're sitting there and we're like, we heard something. We're like, what the fuck is that noise? Because it sounded like autocannons.
Okay.
You know, like, I'm not going to say A-10s because it wasn't that. We're like, what in the hell? So then we heard it again, but we saw it this time. It just so happened that 2 AH-1 Super Cobras were right next to us doing live fire night runs.
That's cool as shit, but scary as fuck.
Oh, yes. So needless to say, Motor T Chief looks at us and goes, are y'all in a hurry to get back? Nope. So we sat there for I don't know how long watching these two Cobras sitting there doing gun runs
Yeah.
in that field where we were, and we were like,
Dude, that's so cool.
fucking sweet.
So cool.
And then we show up. At this point, I have no clue how long we had been gone.
Yeah.
And we finally roll up, and everybody's like, where in the fuck have y'all been? Can't tell you that. Like, why not? Just don't ask. The less you know, the better. And they're like, whatever. Because apparently they were all thirsty as shit because we had both water bowls with us. So they effectively had no water to drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
That goes back to Motor T being skaters.
That's it.
We could get out of the bullshit like that.
Every time.
That's what we were known for.
Yeah. So a pogue is a person other than a grunt.
Yep.
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 And then what do you mean by a skater? Because so I was mentioning, I had somebody listen to a podcast and they said, well, what are all these courses you're going to? Courses? What do you mean courses? You said, well, you do good in one course and you go to the next course and you go to the next course and you go to the next course. What are all these courses? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, like, PMEs or like, which is professional military education, which is like a corporal's course, a sergeant's course, whatever, the professional course to kind of excel and go forward, or like you'd go to a McMap course and different stuff like that, which is your Marine Corps martial arts program, which I actually got my black belt in Japan, which is fucking awesome.
I miss McMap. I wish my body could still hold up to that kind of abuse. I told my wife I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Well, I've been going to the gym a lot, and I've got a little app tracking, my stuff, and I'm getting back there. I tell you what, if I get good enough, I'm definitely going to talk one of my kids into joining one of these taekwondo gyms or a karate gym or whatever, and do some rolling around. That'd be fun.
I would. I'm just worried about whether or not my knees could still hold up.
Oh,
we were not gentle with each other.
I know my body's not going to hold up. I know. It's just, it was so much fun. And so,
it was.
But also, like, we were learning McMap, and when we were learning the Marine Corps martial arts program, UFC was huge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were primetime UFC where people were the weigh-ins and the drug testing and everything else, where they could use steroids up to a certain point and stop dosing, a month and a half before the fight. And, they're in prime time shape, getting in that octagon and laying down on each other,
I'm trying to remember when it was, but it was, I want to say it was probably 2008, because there was a big Christmas party thing over at Third Tracks out at Pendleton at the 21 area, and they had one of the Amtraks out in the jetties, and they had some big time beauty pageant winner out on one of the Amtraks in the jetties. I'm like, y'all are brave. And I'm thinking, my second thought was, if that girl knew the track record of those things, she would have never done that.
Right.
But long story short, we got to meet Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell.
That's cool.
They're not as big as they look on TV.
Really?
The Iceman is about an inch taller than me.
Okay.
And Ortiz, he's only about 6'2", but he's built like a brick shit house.
Damn.
He's just stacked. But I'm thinking to myself, damn, y'all aren't as big as I thought y'all were.
All of a sudden, you meet a legend that you see on TV. Mm-hmm. It's like,
But at the same time, you know what they're capable of doing, so you're not going to sit there and screw around.
No.
Because they would burn you so bad you'd wish you died as a child.
One of the coolest things would be if the Marine Corps would take some people from UFC and actually get them to come teach some McMap courses. Like, hey, look, this is what our McMap is. Where would you improve this training, and what can we do? And you have them fucking just guest star and fucking show up to recruit training and do that shit.
The pain would be worth it.
Oh, yeah.
The pain would definitely be worth it.
And especially you're talking, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids that are there, and they'll be like, oh, man. They don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah, I did end up sparring one time with a black belt instructor. Oh, bad move. I'm like, because as soon as he told me to get up, I'm like, fuck. Yeah, I felt that one for a few days.
Yeah.
That was not one of my brighter moments, but I will say that was the last time I ever sparred with a black belt instructor. I thought we were going hard until I tangoed with him. He showed me what going hard was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, one mind, any weapon.
I used to have that shirt. In fact, the same shirt the instructors wore, the black with the red writing.
Yep.
In fact, a couple weeks ago, I told my wife I want to find another one.
I want to find one. I want to put a plaque, and then I want to put my my McMap belt starting from the top to the bottom, and have that in the back of it. The shirt behind it with the McMap belts from top to bottom.
See, that's my only regret from the Marine Corps. Is I wish my unit would have did more McMap stuff,
Yeah.
because I love that stuff.
So the greatest part about me being in the air wing was I would attach to different units when I went out on a MEU. So when I went to Iraq, I was able to get my green belt because I was able to do my tan belt, my green belt in Iraq. Whenever I go out on my MEU, I'm able to go and get a brown belt because there's a black belt instructor on the MEU, right? So I get my brown belt and I get him to teach me everything for black belt. But he's like, dude, I can't do you a black belt course. Like, whatever, cool. I've got to be a brown belt for so long before I can jump into a black belt course. I don't care. I'm going to learn from you, and I'm going to take the black belt course without ever getting the belt. So I took the course from him. I go out to Yuma, and my first deployment in Yuma, we go to Japan, and I'm helping a black belt instructor teach the fucking course because I already know everything. And that's when I got it and got blessed in to my black belt on that ship out on that deployment. So I mean,
now the black belt test, is it true that the part of the test is multiple target engagement? You get shoved in a room with a bunch of other black belts?
That's not as much part of the test as part of the experience of earning your belt. So it's not part of the test like that.
Is it more of a rite of passage?
Yes, it's more of like a rite of passage. Like it's a
kind of like getting pinned after you get promoted.
Exactly. It's more of like a rite of passage thing, and I don't know who started it, but it's an amazing rite of passage.
It's probably considered hazing now, just like getting pinned.
I'm sure it would be, but once again, it's something that's within the safeguards of a training. So, as you know, like there is training on how to do multiple target engagement, but then the fact of the lights going out and you getting trained on it is something completely different than.
Oh, they turn the lights out on you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
A target-rich environment.
Yep. I really wish I could have done something like that in Al Asad, because in Al Asad, in the Hazes, which is a hardened aircraft structure, they've got. We had cornered off an entire thing, and they just had mattresses on the walls, along the bottom of it, everywhere. We just had mattresses everywhere, and that's where I learned my McMap, my gray belt, and my green belt. Yeah, because you start tan, gray, green. So
you didn't have tan belt out of boot camp?
You had tan belt out of boot camp, yeah. But I learned my gray belt when I first got to Iraq with the squadron. When I was on advanced party, they let me train. There was an instructor, and he was he was in zone, so he was trying to get as many people trained as possible. So I was able to train my McMac belt after doing my work on the aircraft. So I'd work on the aircraft 12 hours a day, and then go train McMap with him for another 2 hours. Dude, so I told you, like, I was benefited with the fact that whenever I got to Iraq, I was an NCO, right? But I've never touched the aircraft. So my entire time, like, even though I was on Camp Cupcake, I didn't go to the good side of the base. I stayed on the flight line. The most I did was go to the chow hall and go to the gym, as far as personal growth. Other than that, it was all about learning the aircraft, all about learning my job. Like, I've never done it. I have no idea what it entails. Like, I'm not even qualified to start up the damn NC-10 to put power on the aircraft by myself. I've got to get all those qualifications and everything else.
Damn.
Like, I had no idea about working on aircrafts.
Most people usually learn more once they get hands-on.
And I was in a target-rich environment to learn, definitely.
I didn't even realize they still had Harriers around then. All I ever saw was helos.
2014 is whenever was my last deployment in Afghanistan. We were the last squadron in Afghanistan, and we were still flying then. And I mean, there's still a couple Harrier squadrons that are still active today that haven't completely shut down yet.
And they must be on the tail end of things.
Yeah, but they're still doing taking out like Marine Expeditionary Units and different stuff like that, because the JF until the JSF gets built up enough to have a supply system and all these other different things in rotation. So keeping the Harriers in rotation a little bit, mostly because there's not really a real conflict out there for them to get involved in. You know what I mean? But we still, and that's another thing that makes the Marine Corps so great and the Marine Corps ready for anything that's going to happen is all these MEUs we have going on that rotate every 6-7 months, you know, and relieving each other. We've already got this cycle in place. We're used to it, you know. The only thing we do is we step it up because we're now in country somewhere, or in country in 2 places or 3 places, you know. So we'll step up the cycle and, you know, cut down the time a little bit.
I never got to do a MEU, but I heard they could get interesting, to say the least.
They can, because once again, the president has authorization to do whatever the hell he wants with the Marine Corps for up to 30 days and not be considered an act of war, because it was him doing it, not Congress. There's a story that there was a president who wanted to terminate the Marine Corps. He said, "We don't need the Marine Corps anymore. I'll just have an Army and the Navy. We don't need an Air Force. We don't need a Marine Corps. We can downsize. We'll be okay." And then all of a sudden, Alcatraz, they can't handle Alcatraz. The guards get overrun. So they send the Marines in, because that's the only thing the president can authorize. So he stands up Pendleton, and Pendleton goes in and takes Alcatraz back from the fucking prisoners in 45 minutes.
I believe it.
I want to say that's Eisenhower.
I do not doubt it for a second. I can't remember how long ago it was. There was some Marines at Al Assad, because my wife saw something and she's like, "Isn't that where you were?" I'm like, "Yeah, 2 deployments there." And I think it was, they were surrounded or whatnot. I think it was like maybe 300 Marines. There may not have been that many. I said, "I'm not worried." She was like, "Why not?" I said, "That group of Marines could take the whole country if they wanted to." I said, "Here's the thing, Marine Corps ain't scared. We will flex our military might, even if it means leveling everything in sight.
Yeah.
If it's alive, it won't be for long." I said, "Why do you think Marines are the first ones in? We go in and just lay waste to whatever's in front of us, if we have to."
Yeah, I mean, as long as the rules of engagement don't tie your hands behind your back, it's pretty fucking impressive, the amount of stuff that we can go in and lay down and take care of.
Yeah, I was talking about rules of engagement about a week ago. I said, rules of engagement is what kept me from doing something that I wish I could have done.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day. That's kind of like a
that's one of those silence segments that gets into one of those boxes that you might want to open.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind opening that box.
I hear
just
you.
Not in this one.
All right. Well, we're 27 minutes in. I'll go ahead and call it good. Any final words of wisdom that you want to impart on everybody? You know, like your little catch fillets. You know, like some iron sharpens iron, or you know.
Some words of wisdom. If anybody watching this and they decide that they're going to join the military, don't believe a damn thing the recruiter says, because they're going to sugarcoat it. Well, find the guys that have been in it for a good while and learn from their experiences.
Do your research, man. Do your research. Reach out to us. Subscribe on our channels. Subscribe on everything we got going on. You know, hit us up on YouTube. I don't know why it took me so long to think of YouTube, but subscribe on YouTube. Follow us and hit us up. Even if you're going to go into the Air Force, dude, I work with people in the plant who've been in the Air Force. They've got contacts who've retired from the Air Force and can actually get you to talk to somebody on the ground that does the job you're interested in getting into. Don't press the believe button. Don't go open contract.
No, for the love of all that's holy, do not be dumb and go open contract, because you 99% chance you will get screwed in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Now, before we stop, was Al-Assad, was that a Marine Corps base or an Air Force base?
Pretty sure it's Marine Corps. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask my buddy. I'm really gonna have to ask him. I don't know.
And you said you went to the chow halls.
Yeah.
Did you stay on the Flightline chow halls?
Flightline chow hall D-Fact 3. Yeah.
Oh, so you know the gloriousness that was D-Fact 3?
See, I don't know the hellscape that was everything else.
D-Fact 3 was the one we would jump in the Deuce and a Half and go to D-Fact 3 because the place was pretty much a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Well, you've said it before. You know,
D-Fact 3 was awesome.
If you want to enjoy a war zone, go to an air base. They know how to run a war zone.
God, do they ever? I mean, what other type of bases in a war zone would have an Olympic-sized swimming pool indoors?
I hear you.
It's good stuff.
Well, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Iron sharpens iron. If we don't help each other, something went wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
We now have a moment of silent prayer for those still in the battle, for our departed comrades, for those missing in action, and for those held as prisoners of war.